Excuse me, sir, is this the Delta House?
Sure. Come on in.
They have cold beer and action on the game.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
It's time for the Degenerates next door.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Oh, baby! It is week 1 of the college football season. We got a little taste, got a little flavor for week 0, but this is it. This is the big week. And Rob, we're going to win so much damn money this week that if we get pulled over for speeding, if you're driving through those golden paved streets of Brownsburg, Indiana, and you get pulled over, you're going to be able to show the arresting officer your gambling ticket, and he's going to be like, please, sir, carry on. You're way too big of a deal for me to stop and give you a ticket.
The only thing more exciting than week 1 of college football is week 1 of college football when you got some serious action on the games.
So week 1, even though it's the second week of games, I mean, we can't laugh at that because the Big Ten Conference has 18 teams in it. So math isn't the strong suit of the college football fan. But before we dive in to all the plays that we've got for you, free, by the way, I'm Jason Hammer. That's Rob Kendall. And week 0, very few games on the slate, just 4 games. And we basically pulled an even Steven. You and I each went 2-2 last week. The unders, 3-1, but the dogs were barking, Rob, 4-0.
Yeah, and, there's nothing more exciting, Hammer, than being up at 3 a.m. on a Saturday night begging Delaware State to keep it within 39.5 against Hawaii.
Did you get that illegal stream that I texted you? Did you watch the illegal stream?
I was worried China was going to take over my phone. Hammer's like, I found a way to watch the game. I was like, yeah, and some Nigerian prince is going to have all your money.
I'm not going to sign up for Spectrum. I'm sorry. I'm not going to pay Spectrum to watch Hawaii. But damn it, I will find an illegal stream like a boss. All right, so before we get to just an awesome week 1 slate of Saturday games, we've got action on Thursday, Rob.
Yeah.
We've got action on Friday, and one of these games I'm in on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about North Carolina at Minnesota. Now, this line has done a total 180. It opened up with Minnesota being a 2-point home favorite. Now they're a 2-point home dog. But for me, this is like Christmas. Instead of having to lay 2, I'm getting 2 because I like Minnesota in this spot here. Both teams, North Carolina, Minnesota, they're going to rely on running the football. North Carolina probably has the better running back. One of their running backs is one of the best in the country, the Hampton kid. But Minnesota comes at you in waves, man. They got 2 really good backs. They can beat you down, wear you down. And what I like about Minnesota is the offensive line. 4 starters are back. They've got the better offensive line. They've got the better defensive line. And North Carolina only has 1 starter back on that defensive line. Now, keep this in mind about North Carolina. They have not covered in 4 straight games, dating back to last year. And 3 of those games, they had a first-round draft pick quarterback. So Drake May's not running out of that tunnel right now. Both teams are coming out here with transfer portal guys. So North Carolina's going to bring out a guy that could not see the field at Texas A&M, could not see the field at LSU and Max Johnson. But Minnesota's got a kid you've never heard of. Max Brosmer played at New Hampshire last year. Now, I get it. The competition's not good, but put up good numbers. I think the wrong team is favorite here. I like Minnesota catching 2 at home, Rob.
And you know why I like this pick? Because Minnesota's coach may be the nicest dressed coach in all of college football.
Row your boat guy.
Yeah, he's always wearing a tie and a sweater vest, and he is a sharp dressed man. Hard to argue with that. A home team getting points. I'm with you, brother.
And Minnesota's going to try to play some bully ball. They're going to use that offensive line. They're going to try to wear you down as the game goes on. I like Minnesota at home. If you buy the theory that if all things are equal, home field advantage is worth around a field goal, this helps you out. So I like Minnesota catching 2. All right, now let's move on to Saturday's games. And we've got some really good ones here. Let's start with Rob's Notre Dame Fighting Irish at College Station, taking on Texas A&M. And Rob, for those who don't know, and we talked about this last week, you're the kind of Notre Dame fan that people want to punch in the face.
Thank you.
Like, you're so smug and so arrogant.
Yes.
I mean, you're like that all the time.
Yes, thank
I'm
you.
not saying this because, it's for effect. You're really an unlikable person.
Thank you.
But when you talk about Notre Dame, you ramp it up even more.
Yeah, so Notre Dame is at Texas A&M. They're a 2.5-point underdog. And I got to admit, Hammer, I got no idea how this one's going to go. I really don't, in the sense of, could Notre Dame, they got a new quarterback from Duke, I know that, but their coach stinks.
You say that Marcus Freeman stinks.
He stinks.
Has he had enough of a body of work for you to lay that out there?
I mean, he's been there for 3 years now. I mean, we're entering the third full season. You should know by now whether the guy stinks or not, and he stinks. However, one thing Notre Dame does have is really good defense. I mean, really good. Offense, no idea. New quarterback from Duke, was hurt a whole bunch, could be great, could get injured week 1, don't know. But I know they're also hurt on the offensive line. And their leading running back, he gone. Receivers, not great. Oh, yeah, and it's a road game against a ranked opponent where Notre Dame always stinks.
And it's a really tough road game. College Station, when it gets rocking and rolling, man, it's a factor.
So, all of that together, good defense, really good defense for Notre Dame, probably really bad offense for Notre Dame. Put them together, I look at that total of 46.5. It doesn't sound like much, but I think it could be enough in this one. I'm going under, Hammer.
You are taking the under. Again, unders 3-1 last weekend. So Rob's in on the under with Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Another big one on the slate, Clemson taking on Georgia. Now, technically, this is a neutral site game in Atlanta. But let's be honest, this is a de facto Georgia Bulldog home game. Georgia, 13.5-point favorite. The over-under is now down to 48. It was at 49, some spots 49.5 when this thing opened up. Carson Beck back for the Georgia Bulldogs behind what I think is the best offensive line in America. Plus, you look at that Georgia defense, Rob. 9 starters back from the 9th best defense in the country last year. But more importantly, they were number 1 in the SEC. When you look at the competition level that they had to go against week in and week out, number 1 in the SEC, and they're bringing back 9 starters from that. Meanwhile, you look at Clemson, and Dabo Swinney hates the transfer portal.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, refuses to use the transfer portal. So the question you have to ask yourself, during the offseason, with just recruiting, did Clemson become that much better than Georgia? I don't think they have. Clemson's going to ride with Cade Klubnik as their quarterback. I think this is one of those games where it could be close for a little while, but that big, strong Georgia offensive line, by the fourth quarter, they're going to wear you down. I'm a Tennessee fan. I've seen this firsthand. Teams hang around with Georgia. They play off some emotion, but by the time the fourth quarter comes around, the better defense, the better offensive line wears you down. I am going to, against my Tennessee volunteer-loving fandom, take the Georgia Bulldogs to cover 13.5 here. God, what do you think about me, a Tennessee fan, taking Georgia in this matchup?
You big fat stinking bastard! God, how I hate you! You make me want to puke!
Thank you, God. Rob, you've got to play on this.
Yeah, so I found this at 48.5. I think it started at 49. I think it's moving a lot of people down to 48, but I'm getting it at 48.5. Now, here's the thing. Georgia's got a lot back on defense. They were the 30th best success rate in the country last year, and they have a lot back. They weren't all that good at stopping the run, but Clemson's going to want to run the ball, which should slow the game down, because I don't think Clemson wants to keep that Georgia offense off the field. They don't want to get into a shootout. They want to run clock. Georgia's secondary is really good, which will keep them from throwing the ball even if they wanted to. And that means you're not going to get a lot of passes deep that are going to be completed. It means it's going to take them time to get down the field. Georgia doesn't have a lot of dynamic receivers. Obviously, they don't have Bowers, the number 1 target last year back. And Clemson's pass defense is also pretty good, which should prevent some long passes. I'm going under again, 48.5, Clemson and Georgia.
So what you're telling me is that the current number of 48.5, much like the rent, is too damn high?
too damn high.
That's what you're telling me?
That's it, brother. Too dang on high. I love these secondaries on both of these teams. I think it'll keep the number down throughout much of the game.
We've got action on Sunday. This is a rare Sunday matchup. Again, college football taking advantage of the fact that the NFL last Sunday off for them. So they want the spotlight here, and we've got a good one out in Vegas. USC taking on LSU. Neutral site game in Las Vegas. And Rob, before I get your thoughts on this one, what we like to do on this show is bring in some professionals. Because you and I aren't professionals. We do our homework. We're making these bets, but we don't do this for a living. So we're going to bring in some guys that do this for a living. And joining us right now from followneverfade.com, pro handicapper David Stefanoff. David, walk me through LSU against USC in Vegas. What do you think?
Thank you, Hammer. Thank you for having me on, and Rob. This game is two teams maybe going in two different directions. The only place that USC has the advantage in this game is the quarterback position. He looked great last year in the bowl game when Caleb Williams was out. US versus Louisville's backups. LSU, I think, is the team here. I don't like Brian Kelly, but last thing I heard, Pete Carroll needs 5 or 6 wins to make the College Football Hall of Fame. And he's teaching class in USC right now. So Lincoln Riley knows his days are numbered. These are two different programs going two different directions. USC didn't get any better last year from last year. Their defense was horrible. Their offensive line was their strength last year. That's going to be their weakest part this year. LSU is SEC in the trenches. I really feel like LSU has 4 returning linemen. They got the best linebacker in America, I believe. They got All-American linemen. They have a new quarterback. He's been with the program 3 years. Hasn't played much, but I don't think they're going to score a lot of points in this game. I think USC is going to struggle. They have weapons, but they have no defense. And I think Brian Kelly's only way to victory here is to run the ball and keep this game low. This total mismatch in the trenches, like I said. LSU loaded up front on the offensive line, loaded on the defensive line, great defense. They usually have a lot of receivers in LSU. This year, they're missed a couple of receivers. They're all in pro. They got maybe 1 or 2 good kids. The quarterback's going to be play conservative style. LSU's going to be pretty good, but in the trenches, they keep this game under. I think they're going to run the ball conservatively, keep USC off the field. They know they got to keep USC off the field. Their offense is all they got. USC might have a little home field advantage, a little bit being in LA, but I really feel this game's going to go under 64 points. It was 64.5 down to 63.5 somewhere. I think LSU, USC is the play is to go under 64 points, and I don't see maybe USC with a backdoor cover, but I do not see them winning this game.
All right, Rob, you heard David there. And the one thing that I will disagree on, he says that USC is going to have the home field advantage here because their campus is closer to Las Vegas. It's only a couple hours away from the USC campus to Las Vegas. That makes sense. But I'm telling you right now, these Cajun Hicks from Louisiana have been looking forward to this game for a long time. When the schedule came out and they saw their beloved Bayou Bengals were going out to Vegas, they were ready to hop on a plane and go. You've seen Ocean's 11, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That iconic scene at the end where after the heist is over, all those, for the most part, good-looking guys, they're staring out at the Bellagio. It's Brad Pitt. It's Scott Conn. It's Matt Damon. They're looking at the fountains. Now imagine it's a bunch of hicks wearing overalls with no shirt underneath, a big floppy hat, tobacco stains, and a piece of straw sticking out of their mouth. I'm telling you, it's going to be a full-on Cajun invasion. What say you?
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. So that's such a big number, and so I thought about taking the under, but then I could see myself Sunday being pissed the whole game as it's like, Madden over there with these guys running scores in left and right. And I don't want to cheer against offense on a Sunday. Here's what I know. USC has failed to cover the spread in 10 of its last 11 games played at neutral sites. Some guy named Garrett Nussmeier.
Who?
Garrett Nussmeier, N-U-S-S, M-E-I-E-R, is in for Jaden Daniels at quarterback. For Jaden Daniels at quarterback. But he has 219 career pass attempts for 1,000 1,720 yards and 11 touchdowns. So he's not bad, and he's not all that inexperienced. The favorite has covered the spread in 7 of LSU's last 8 games. LSU is bigger, they're stronger, they're more experienced. Oh, yeah, Hammer. And USC is starting some guy named Miller Moss to replace Caleb Williams. He's got 92 career pass attempts. I think that LSU is not only going to cover this game, they're going to boat race USC. I like LSU minus the 4.5.
And the fact of the matter is that this just matters more to LSU right now. Like, if USC loses, you get to go back to your campus. You know, the fan base doesn't really care. There's no signature star player. It's a fair weather fan base. But if LSU loses, they might not let Brian Kelly back on the flight home.
Well, you're right. USC feels like a vanity program at this point, don't they?
Right. 100%. If they lose, no big deal. You go back to campus. But LSU, this is religion, man. I'm telling you.
And as you always say, Brian Kelly is a red ass.
Total red ass, 100%. Let me take you back to Friday, because we mentioned we've got Thursday and Friday action. There's a Friday game that I'm in on. TCU taking on Stanford. Now, again, Rob, as a total Notre Dame butt sniffer, you're old enough to remember when, for whatever reason, Stanford was a problem on the Notre Dame schedule.
Oh, absolutely. You know, they had Jim Harbaugh as their coach. They had Andrew Luck. Yes, there were many years that Stanford was one of the better teams in the country. They'd beat the crap out of Notre Dame, but they stinks, Hammer.
You know what Stanford is now? Donald Trump, help me out.
They are nothing but losers.
I don't know what happened to that program, but it's a mess. So 9.5 is the number. This is about as far as I want to go. If you take it up to 10, that's kind of a push number right there. This was at 8 when the week opened up. It's all the way up to 9.5. TCU at Stanford on Friday. Should be a pretty fast-paced game. Both teams like to throw the ball. You look at last year's numbers, and again, it's week 1. It's all we have to go on right now. These were number 4 and number 19 in the nation in total offensive pace per game. So they like to get the ball in the air. They like to go quickly. And if that's the case, I want the team with the better athletes. And I think TCU has the better athletes compared to Stanford. Plus, Stanford's secondary is awful. Stanford's defensive line, awful. Now, TCU was down last year defensively, but I think they've hit the transfer portal just good enough to shore up that secondary. TCU has covered the spread in the last 8 road openers. Now, 3 or 4 in a row, that may be a fluke. But when you cover 8 straight on the road, that's your coaching staff doing something to get your team ready to roll. I'll lay the 9.5. It's a big number. Kind of makes me a little skittish that it's going up so high. I liked it a lot better at 8. But I will lay 9.5 with TCU against Stanford on Friday. Another game that I think we each have a little action on, Rob, Penn State and West Virginia. We're going to talk about that game coming up right after the break. Country roads, take me home. Morgantown is going to be rocking and rolling as Penn State goes into Morgantown. Couches will be burning. Country roads will be sang. And this is a good one. Penn State, West Virginia. Penn State is an 8-point favorite. This was at 9.5 earlier in the week, Rob. So the money is coming in on the Mountaineers over under looking at 51.5.
Yeah, West Virginia is going to be a hard team to figure out because they have been pretty bad, but they played better towards the end of last year. Now, one thing I do know, the number last year in this game, Penn State won it big, was 53 points. Drew Aller is back for his junior year for Penn State. He threw for 2,631 yards, 25 touchdowns, and this is key, just 2 interceptions in 2023. Tyler Warren's back at tight end. He caught 7 touchdowns last year. Their leading receiver transferred, but Julian Fleming came in from Ohio State, so a lot of people think that that's a push. They've got some other guys in the backfield that are pretty experienced. They're going to be able to run the ball pretty well. Now, for West Virginia, Garrett Green. This guy is a video game quarterback. He is incredible. He's a great athlete. He threw for 2,400 yards, 16 touchdowns, but he can run. He ran for 772 yards, 13 touchdowns on the ground. They got a lot of experience coming back at running back. Last year, their leading running back had 11 touchdowns. He's back. They've got some help back there as well. There's a lot of offense in this game. I'm not sure how good West Virginia actually is on defense, but I know they can score points. I like over 51.5 in this game.
So I'm looking at this in terms of a first half only wager. So as you mentioned, Penn State brings back a pretty good quarterback, not a home run threat kind of guy, but just a really good, smart game manager type of player. West Virginia's got the dual threat quarterback, but this is the reason why I'm taking West Virginia +4 in the first half only. Do you know who Penn State hired as their defensive coordinator? Clappy McFightsong. Former Indiana University head coach Tom Allen. Tom freaking Allen is the defensive coordinator for Penn State. So you're telling me you want that guy to get Penn State ready for one of the most hostile road environments college football has to offer? Penn State's the better team. Let's not get it twisted. They have the better roster, and I think they will win this game, maybe going away at the end. But with that crowd early on, playing off energy, playing off emotion, I will take West Virginia +4 in the first half. I think West Virginia hangs around. I think it might even be a 14-10 type of game. Worst case scenario, I think you get a push right there. But if West Virginia just hangs around, plays off a little bit of emotion, I like +4 in the first half. Which brings us to something that we've done for a long time around here, Rob. It's become its own institution. We call it the Degenerate Special.
It's time for Hammer's Degenerate Special.
Rob, anybody can bet on Notre Dame and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Anybody can put a wager down on Georgia and Clemson. But the real degenerates are looking at the matchup between Eastern Michigan and UMass.
Oh, yeah, baby.
The Fighting Marcus Cambies of Massachusetts. So let's break this down here, okay? Again, Rob and I do the homework so you don't have to. We ignore our children. We put our families in danger to study these numbers just for you.
Should we do the disclaimer, though, on how it works around here, that if you win, we don't need to thank you. We don't need you to tell people on social media how great we are. But if you lose, we don't want to hear any crap.
That's right.
We're giving you thoughts. We're giving you ideas. We're doing research. We're citing citing statistics. But you make the choice. You're a grown-ass man or a grown-ass woman. Don't be blaming us if the bet doesn't pay out.
Right. And if you hate our picks, then tweet at us, right? Look for the Degenerates Next Door Twitter handle and hop in line of the people that want to talk trash to Rob Kendall and myself. But let's dive into it here. Eastern Michigan at UMass. Before you stop laughing here, remember, Eastern Michigan made a bowl game last year. They lost by 49 in that bowl game.
But they made it.
To the juggernaut that is South Alabama, but they made it. They've got a new quarterback. They're returning a lot of players. Now, we look at UMass. They got better last year as the season went on. Early on, one of the worst teams in football. But they pulled an upset on Army late in the season, which should tell you how bad the season was. They were celebrating a win over Army late in the year. Both of these defenses stink. I'm banking on the fact that these defenses are worse than the offenses we're going to see. Last year, UMass gave up nearly 38 points per game. And each of the last 4 games that UMass has played in the month of August has all gone over the total. So here's what we're going to do. Eastern Michigan, UMass, the total is 49. We are going to ride the lightning. Ooh. Expect fireworks at Warren McGurk Stadium. Ooh. Jim Irsay, cue up the band, baby. We're going over 49.
Well, I say we end with this. You guys can follow me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
Hold on. Come on.
We will rock you. We will rock you.
Damn right. We're riding the lightning. We're going over 49 Eastern Michigan, UMass, the first Degenerate Special of the year.
Can I say, of all the things you bet on, it is the most fun for me to watch you cheer or scream about the Degenerate Special as it's taking place in real time.
And that's what makes this show what it is, right? All of these Botox-having Kardashian-looking dudes on television, or these chicks making their pics, walking on Twitter with their big old cans bouncing. While I appreciate it, that's not who's betting on these games.
Right.
Guys like me who, almost have an aneurysm yelling at a college kid who doesn't know I exist.
Right, and a lot of these Degenerate Specials, which are great, they aren't on television. So I know you're watching your cellular telephone as this is taking place. And I'll tell you what, I mean, maybe sometime we should live stream you watching a Degenerate Special because it is priceless.
All right, Rob has got something special for you from the world of golf. That is coming up right after this. All right, coming up here in just a moment, Rob Kendall, golf betting extraordinaire, will lay out something for you this weekend, but you've got one more play on college football.
Yeah, Hammer, I try to spread my games out so I get, the whole day's worth of enjoyment, and there ain't no later game than the game at Hawaii. And I'll tell you what, you and I watched Hawaii while you watched them on a stolen internet feed. I watched them on a tracker like 1932. And Hawaii, they stinks. I mean, they struggled in the first half. If it weren't for a punt return for a touchdown, they would have tied the first half with Delaware State.
As a matter of fact, their head coach, Timmy Chang, he was mic'd up for the game, and after his disappointing first half, this is what he had to say to his Hawaii team in the locker room.
You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of damn nerds. Nerds!
It's Timmy Chang, the head coach of Hawaii, Rob.
Yeah, they struggled against a decrepit Delaware State team. They play UCLA at home, which means UCLA has to travel there. UCLA ain't great, but ain't great ain't dreadful. And Hawaii, I think they might be dreadful. Plus, as I said, Hammer, this will give me something to do when my kid inevitably wakes me up in the middle of the night. I am so strongly considering teasing this down to 13.5, but I'm not totally against where it is right now. I'm going to wait a little bit to see if it comes down. 14.5, I like UCLA covering at Hawaii.
I don't think it's going down. I think it's going the other direction. I think if you want this now, you should hit it right now. Strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
And the other thing we want to make perfectly clear, we're taping this on a Tuesday, right? It's important to see where the money's going, see what the trends are doing. Like if you feel like a team is going to maybe catch some points like Minnesota did, wait, write it out. But if you're somebody that wants to get on UCLA against Hawaii and you see that money starting to trickle up, it goes from 13 to 13.5, then 14. You got to put the hammer down, baby, and get that bet in quickly.
All right, you son of a gun. I'm in 14.5. Let's go.
All right. I have a serious question for you, Rob.
Yes.
Are you ready to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
You ready to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
All right. Want to get nuts? Come on.
Let's get nuts. Now you want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
Let's get nuts, Rob. Give me some golf.
Yeah, Hammer and I over the years, Hammer's chastised me, yelled at me, screamed at me. I make a lot of long shot bets because, gosh darn it, I love to cheer for an underdog who on paper has absolutely no chance. And so one of the segments we're going to do on this show quite a bit is the Let's Get Nuts segment where I take a long shot who I think might actually have a shot. And this week, Hammer, we go to my world. We're like Fred Krueger. You're in my world now. It's the world of golf.
Let's go.
And you can make a lot of money in the world of golf because the odds are always so long. So this is the FedEx Championship. It is the culmination of the PGA Tour season. And there's only 30 guys in the tournament this week, Hammer. And they operate from what they call a staggered scoring system. And what that means is they rank these guys 1 to 30, and their score starts based on where their position is. So the better you start, the lower your score is, and then everybody else has got to play catch-up to the guys at the top of the leaderboard. So you could take somebody like Scotty Scheffler, having one of the greatest PGA seasons of all time. He's going to start number 1 at -10. You could start somebody like, or bet on somebody like Xander Schauffele. Won 2 majors this year.
But that's not any fun. Those are the favorites.
No. We're going to Sweden for this one, Hammer, We're going all the way to Sweden and a guy by the name of Ludvig Åberg.
Ludwig, baby, come on!
He's starting at -5, which means he's starting 5 shots off Scotty Scheffler in the lead at -10. Here's the thing I love about Ludvig Åberg. He's either really, really good or he's really, really bad. Sort of like my golf game, Hammer, except he's just a lot better than I am. You can get him right now. He's one of the best players in golf. He's starting 5 shots back. He has the ability to go out and shoot 62 day one, which could put him tied for the lead. You can get him at 22-1 right now, Hammer. 22-1. He's got to make up 5 shots in 4 days. I say let's get nuts. Let's get nuts with Ludvig Åberg at 22-1 at the FedEx Championship.
All right, want to get nuts? Come on.
Let's get nuts! Longshot! Now you want to get nuts? Come on! Let's get nuts.
Love it.
I will see your Ludwig golf selection and take you to the short track oval of the Milwaukee Mile in the IndyCar Series. Short track ovals means Joseph Newgarden. And he's the favorite, and I know it. But when you look at a track similar to that, Iowa. The Iowa Speedway is a track very similar to what you're going to see in Milwaukee. Joseph Newgarden dominates that thing. Now, there are 2 races this weekend. Not 1, but 2. So I'm talking about the Saturday race. Take Joseph Newgarden in the Saturday race because the experience on a short track coming off of a short week, that's where you're going to see the better driver, the better team have success. Joseph Newgarden on the Saturday. And then on Sunday, the old man, Will Power, flipping people off, crashing people out. You might not like him, but the old man is back, and he's on a bit of a heater right now. I like the Penske cars this weekend. It's not out of the question, a Newgarden sweep. But give me Newgarden on Saturday. Give me Will Power on Sunday. Somebody might get flipped off, and that's the way we roll here at the Degenerates next door.
And racing is a lot like golf in the sense of you can get pretty good plus odds most times, even on the favorites.
And you can bet a couple of different guys.
Yeah.
Don't just limit yourself to one. You can bet a couple different dudes, and as long as one of them wins, hot damn, your toes are tapping. Now, again, we are not wed to a single sports book on this show. So look around, find the best number for you. Open up a couple different accounts. You can't call yourself a degenerate if you don't have a couple different accounts. And starting next week, we're going to do this twice a week, Rob.
Yeah.
NFL season begins next week. So if you like this show that we do on Tuesday, check out the NFL edition on Thursday.
I got to see you twice a week?
I'll bring the beer. I'll bring the shots. I'll bring the beer bong. And you know I have it in my office.
Yes, indeed.
For Rob Kendall, I'm Jason Hammer. We are the Degenerates next door. Tell your friends about the show. Nobody has more fun betting on games than we do. Good luck, everybody, and may the odds be ever in your favor.